In 2005, the worst natural disaster in U.S. history swamped the city of New Orleans. The most affected by Hurricane Katrina were the city's poorest. It exposed to the world the extent to which poverty exists in America.
We must keep America the world's indispensable nation.
But he forgot the greatest nation on the face of the earth is after him.
This is no way to run the greatest country on earth.
The U.S. is the wealthiest country in the world, but also abides the deepest poverty of any developed nation. 1 in 5 children in America are affected. And in New Orleans, the child poverty rate is nearly double.
That's a whole lot of kids that are living in poverty. And interestingly enough, 82% of those kids have a working parent. These are working parents who don't have enough of an income level to be able to meet the needs of the family.
The problem is believed to be much worse than government statistics indicate, because in many places the poverty line is set well below what people need to survive.
A family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children, 2 small children, they define the poverty level as a household income of $23,500. Here in New Orleans, a family of 4 needs $48,000 in household income in order to just get by. That's paying for the basics of housing, food, transportation, and health care. It's not a nickel going toward savings. It's not a nickel going toward college educations. It's certainly not a nickel going toward a vacation at Disney World.
And while the scars of Hurricane Katrina are still visible, the issue of poverty is largely kept out of sight.
You know, it's one thing to have a job and earn a wage. It's another thing to earn a sustainable wage.
Chef Joe, as he's called in the kitchen, spends his days helping at-risk youths from New Orleans' poorest neighborhoods.
All julienne means is long and thin. All right? A livable wage means that I earn just enough to live. Now, anything outside of my everyday needs, I can't afford. They want to talk about a lot of why our young people are getting in trouble or succumb to the streets. It's because parents are having to work 2 and 3 jobs just to earn a livable wage, not even a sustainable wage.
While a great deal of focus in the presidential election has been on the loss of industrial jobs and bringing them back to life, a cause championed by Donald Trump, far less time has been spent talking about service industry jobs performed by the vast majority of low-wage workers.
You know, when you see fast food workers protesting and saying they need $15 an hour, those $15 an hour, depending on where they're at in their cost of living, may just be enough to become a livable wage so that they only have to work 1 job.
America deserves a raise.
President Obama has pushed for raising the minimum wage, currently set at $7.25 per hour, along with investing in social welfare programs, including health insurance. And yet during his presidency, poverty rates have hit historic highs, something Republicans say is proof that more government does not make for a more inclusive economy.
Here voters are casting early ballots. Now, the economy is traditionally the biggest single issue by which voters choose a candidate. According to recent polling, 64%, nearly 2/3 of Americans, think that the country is headed in the wrong direction, while 29% think that it's headed in the right direction. But it's unclear whether that's because of the economy or because of increasingly shrill partisan politics and deadlock in Congress, a feature of the Obama presidency.
Hy McHenry is on the board of the New Orleans Mission, a faith-based initiative that helps homeless people get back on their feet. He says even local government programs to help the poor just don't work.
What we've noticed is whenever the government gets control of something or gets too much influence, it all starts to fall apart. And a boatload of money goes into the program, and the results are abominable.
Annual polling suggests Americans put poverty no higher than 10th on the list of priorities for federal action. With an election and change of leadership around the corner, some are skeptical whether things will get better for the 47 million people who yearn to reach the middle class, and for many others, the worry that once they get there, they will struggle to remain. Randolph Nogle, The Newsmakers in New Orleans.
Carl Wittagist joins me now from Doha. He's the founder of Basic Income News and a professor of political philosophy at Georgetown University. Carl, good to talk to you. So you would have heard that report from Randolph, where we explored some of the poverty in New Orleans. How would you assess the state of poverty and inequality in the world superpower, the wealthiest country in the world, ahead of those 2016 elections, and how poverty has been addressed in this electoral campaign?
Oh, it's horrible. We made a great deal of progress against poverty during the Second World War, and then again in the 1960s and 70s, and went way down. And it's basically not gone down since the 1970s, not for any sustained period. It's fluctuated around the area of 10 to 15%. And we have a lot of people who are really not doing very well. And it's not just the poor, because when you have people who are this poor dragging the wages down, then the middle class doesn't do very well either. The middle class also has not shared in the great economic growth we've had since the 1970s. The median worker is not doing any better than they were in the 1970s, because all the benefits since then have been concentrated on people at the top and have been increasingly unequal in ways that really harm people, especially at the bottom.
So the Democrats say we need more government, and the Republicans say we need government to get out of the way to help the poor. Which side is right?
Well, it's a little bit simple, but it's when we've done things, when we've been doing things, things have gotten better. During the Roosevelt administration, in the Depression and World War II, the government did a lot of things that helped a lot of people, and things got a lot better. Poverty went way down. Social Security virtually eliminated poverty for the elderly. And poverty went down again in the 1960s when we had new programs to work on it. But when we've been chipping away at those programs for years, it hasn't improved. Now we need something that's more comprehensive, that's more like Social Security to do for the rest of the country what we've done for the elderly with Social Security.
So you say it's more like Social Security. Your platform, I had a look at your website, your platform says no freedom without basic income. Tell me what that means.
Well, there's a big feeling in the United States that if you're poor, it's your fault. That if you need money for whatever reason, you must be some moral failing on your part. If you're getting paid low wages, it must be because you didn't educate yourself well enough or something, even though our economy depends on labor of ordinary laborers around the country. And what we do then by having so few things that will really help a person that is looking for a job and needs something on a long-term basis is we put people in a desperate circumstance. Well, they will accept a $7.25-hour wages when they have to live in buildings the kind that you're showing on this visual. People will accept that because they have no other option. So what I believe we need to do is to have universal and unconditional support for everyone, so that they go into the labor market as a free person who has the power to say no to that job if it is unacceptable.
And in a country with a spirit of entrepreneurship where, built into the DNA of the United States, there's this idea that I work hard for what I've got. What about those who don't want to work? Should they also be eligible for a basic income?
Yes, everyone. This idea that there are these people who don't want to work and never want to work, and that's the problem in the world. That is not the problem in the world. As George Orwell recognized 100 years ago, that it's we don't really blame the poor for not working for a living. They blame them for not working for a good living. That they live wretchedly because we pay them wretchedly, and we blame them for it. No one, no matter what you think of a person, no one has the right to become between another person and the resources they need to survive. We love to say lazy workers. If somebody doesn't want to take a job, that's always a dispute. It's always a dispute between the employer and the employee of whether the wages are high enough. At some wage, everyone will take a job. You take a homeless person, offer them $1 million to do their job, they'll do it. There are no people who will not work for a wage that they find acceptable. We always want to say but when the wages aren't high enough for people to want that job, we always say lazy worker. Why don't we say cheap employer? Why don't we say cheap employer? Someone who will pay a wage where you have to raise your children in poverty to take that wage, and we never accuse him of being cheap. We accuse that person for being lazy because they haven't found some way to get better wages. It's very one-sided the way we look at the distribution of income in this country and many others, and we need to change that attitude and show some decent respect for the humanity and the freedom of people that have no resources only because we don't allow them. We don't let people work for themselves. We put them in a position where they have no other way to make their living but to serve people who are more privileged than they are. We need to relieve that if we want everyone to enter the free market as a free person. Okay,
Carl, unfortunately, I've got to wrap, but it's been good to talk to you. Hopefully we can get you on another time soon, maybe in a debate. Let's see. Well, Carl Whitterquist, has been good to talk to you. Thanks so much. All the best.